on. Good morning, all. I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein. Let's gather around the soup kettle as I give you some of my best soup recipes. I'm honoring a meal in a bowl on the next SoFlo Taste. How fun is that? Good morning, all. I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein, and I'm front and center in the Goya kitchen in the Culinary Lab at Florida Education Institute. Happy New Year and welcome to SoFlo Taste. I hope you had a good start to the new year, and if you started it off with a wonderful bowl of soup, you were off to a great start. Our SoFlo winters may not be what they're experiencing up north, but it's hard to beat that bowl of comfort no matter what the temperature is. So today I thought it would be fun to give you some of my favorite soup recipes. So let's get cooking. I'm actually starting with something that I consider kind of like a soup. It's a chili, and I know it's kind of like a stew, but to me soups and stews should be one category because they just add warmth and comfort, and it's all about soul food. So this is some lean ground beef, so it's sirloin, which is a more 90-10 rather than an 80-20. Just render it on a nice medium heat. Just so you know, I got this beautiful sirloin from my friends at Milam's Market, who should change their name really to Everything Market because they do have everything. Milam's Markets even have a large list of items for gluten-free like me, vegan, kosher, and lactose-free diets. Visit any one of Milam's 6 SoFlo markets or at milamsmarkets.com, and I will see you there. So this has already cooked. The meat has basically cooked. To this, I will add some small diced red pepper. And if you like your chili spicy, just add more spicy things into it. We're gonna add a little bit of minced garlic, small dice of yellow onion, finally some jalapenos, which we've seeded and veined, so we're left the part that just has flavor but not much heat to it. And that's just cut up really small as well. Let's go ahead and cook that until the onions start getting nice and soft. The longer you kind of stew your chili or simmer it, the better it's going to taste, right? Because let's face it, it's even better the next day and the day after because it just macerates and it just gathers more flavor as it sits. So once your onions turn a little bit soft and somewhat translucent, let's go ahead and start adding all of the spices into it. So we'll add garlic powder and onion powder. Even though it has fresh garlic and onion in it, you always want to boost those flavors a little bit. I've got some chili powder, cumin, smoked paprika, not regular paprika, but smoked. And if you don't have smoked paprika, use regular, it doesn't really matter. A little bit of ancho powder, which is my ground pepper of choice for a little bit of heat today. Some dried oregano, a little bit of salt, kosher salt. I try not to add too much salt at this point because we have a long way of cooking to go, and as it reduces and gets a little bit more intense, your salt could get a little too salty. So let's wait till the end to salt it more. I'm gonna add a little bit of brown sugar. Again, be careful, if you add too much at first, it's gonna get too sweet. But I do add just a little bit to promote that natural sweetness in the chili flavors. And finally, beans. So I'm gonna add my favorite pink beans. I love pink beans. To me, they're just one of the creamiest of beans. I'm only gonna go with about half of this can because we don't want more bean than meat, right? Let me stir this just a little bit and then add all the juicy stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a bottle of beer. I usually use some kind of a lager. You can add dark beer if you love dark beer, totally up to you. And don't worry, we're cooking out all of the alcohol, so anybody can eat this chili, of course. All right, so let that steam out for just a little bit. And once that starts kind of boiling up and reducing a little bit, then you add some canned chopped tomatoes. And then finally, this is just purchased beef broth. I just try to make sure that it's a nice low sodium beef broth so that this doesn't get too salty. Okay, I'm gonna let it go. Come right back to the Goya kitchen in the Culinary Lab at Florida Education Institute because your soup is getting cold. Mwah. See you in a minute.
Come back to SoFlo Taste from the Goya kitchen at the Culinary Lab at Florida Education Institute here on Local 10. It's a Milam's Markets Minute. Here's Melinda Harper.
Here at the Milam's Bakery, we're here to talk about something near and dear to your heart and near and dear to my heart, and it is bread.
There is nothing I love more, besides my husband and child and dog, than a fresh slice of bread with melted butter on it. And we have quite an assortment that's baked fresh or delivered here every single day. And also a large variety of pastries like croissants, cookies, cupcakes. It's delicious.
While we all love sweets, and everyone's got that sweet tooth, you do have sweets for people with dietary restrictions.
Right, whether that's gluten-free, vegan, even sugar-free, we have mousse, cookies, cakes, an assortment that anyone can enjoy.
So if you need to come out to the bakery to pick up some nice fresh bread or some fresh cookies, muffins, pastries, or even come out to try some of Grandma Joan Milam's delicious pound cake, head to a Milam's near you. There are 6 stores, and if you can't make it in person,
just order online and we'll deliver right to your door.
But we hope to see you here.
Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. I'm here in the heart of Coral Gables and the Culinary Lab at Florida Education Institute. Their culinary arts program offers its students an education focusing on international culinary fundamentals. In just months, you can graduate from the FEI Culinary Arts program and begin an exciting new career. For more information, visit fei.edu/culinary-arts. Learn the right way at the Culinary Lab at Florida Education Institute. All right, everyone, time to start our next soup. So I love soups that come from Thailand. I decided on making kind of my own style of Thai soup. It's basically just a delicious coconut soup with all my favorite flavors in it. Some delicious shrimp that we got again at Milam's Market, and it's just so beautiful. It's beautiful red shrimp. And then I'm gonna flavor it with some of my favorite flavors that I've learned throughout the years in Asia. We're gonna start out by actually cooking everything in a little coconut oil. You can use coconut oil or coconut butter, it's really up to you. It really starts out by giving it a lovely coconut flavor, and I've been using coconut oil more and more at home. And turn that on a nice low heat, because there's a lot of flavors in here you don't want to burn, like fresh ginger and lemongrass. So this is, if y'all haven't seen, a fresh stalk of lemongrass. So it has like a darker spot here where it grows from, and this is kind of harder at the tip. And then it goes up and has this delightful like yellow to green color. Now the flavor in this part of it is really where you want to use it for cooking purposes. But this up here I actually put into like sugar if I want it to taste like lemongrass. You can marinate things with this part of it. But as far as like the eating part, the consuming part, you really want to work on everything that's kind of right here. This is the sweet spot right here. So rather than taking the sharp end of the knife, use the other side and just softly start hitting the lemongrass a little bit to break it up. And what that does is it allows the tip to come off really easily, and wherever it breaks naturally is usually where you'd want to discard, right? And so it opens up into this gorgeous like rose-colored almost top right here. And then you start with a knife and you start chopping it. And that's about as far as I want to go with it. And it smells delicious. Now, if you either don't feel like getting lemongrass or just want to use something you might have at home, then lemon zest is delicious and it'll work beautifully in this recipe. But for lemongrass, you're going to want to chop it a bit further because it is a little kind of chewy and hard. And so the finer you can cut it, the more it will just disappear into whatever it is that you're cooking. So this should be pretty much fine enough. So we have a lovely amount of lemongrass. We have some shallots we're going to start out with. Let's add them to the pot. We have some ginger that I like to just use a microplane on. We just peel it and microplane it, so we can add that into the pot. Let's go ahead and add this lemongrass and make sure none of these things get dark. If lemongrass or ginger become too caramelized, it will become bitter, and we don't want that to happen. Next, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. And I mean, you know, home cooking is all about cheating, right? To go a little bit faster. So I've bought a little bit of red curry paste, and you can find this in any good Asian market. I think a lot of regular markets probably sell it as well. And we're not going to use a ton, but it definitely gives you a great head start in curry. I made my own red curry the other day, and I have to be honest with you, it wasn't as good as this. So I'm gonna add a little bit of that, and let's just start working all of this into the pot together, really breaking everything down, cooking it, and allowing all these natural oils to come out and all the flavor to really pop out of all this. So the next thing we're gonna do is actually add the coconut milk to this. Now this is really important because when I cook with coconut milk, sometimes it can break, and I don't know if that's ever happened to you, where it kind of divides into the fat side and then the milky side. So if you use a true Thai brand of coconut milk, then you won't have that problem. We always try to use a good coconut milk from Thailand. And again, you can use any coconut milk and you can get it anywhere, so just be careful with it when heating it up. So the coconut milk is in, I'm mixing it around, making sure it's nice and thick, and then start adding either chicken stock or vegetable broth, or the best would be shrimp stock if you have any. And then lastly, the last thing we have to chop up, other than the herbs to finish, which are cilantro, mint, and basil, is some shiitake mushroom. So these are shiitake mushroom caps. We've already taken off the stems, and I'm gonna julienne a bunch of them. I have some rice cooking in the back. We're gonna add rice to it at the end, so when you come back, we'll put it all together. We'll add the shrimp to it, some herbs into it, and then finally, this is my nadi flavor. It's called Nuc Nam, and this is a combination of fish sauce with lime juice and sugar, equal parts, and a little water, and it just makes everything even better. In fact, when I talk about it, my mouth goes crazy right here. So I'll see you all in 2 minutes for more of what I'm calling taking stock in soups. Happy New Year, and thanks for watching SoFlo Taste on the one and only Local 10.
I'm design expert Elena Capra. Join me on SoFlo Home Project next.
SoFlo Taste returns right after this. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. Need these soup recipes, but your shorthand is rusty? Well, try this. Just scan this quick response code for an instant trip to the SoFlo Shows page, where you can take your time with recipes. You'll also see this QRC on the ingredient list throughout today's show. Now back to the food, because soup's on. Speaking of soup's on, so check out my chili. Of course, I topped it with my favorite stuff because I like all kinds of stuff in there. I have sour cream, some cheddar cheese, some scallions and red onions, and it's just, look how thick and delicious. Have it with your favorite tortilla chips, and you have yourself a meal. All right, let's finish up this beautiful shrimp Thai soup that we were talking about. So I added in a bunch of mushrooms. Let's just add in, for now, the shrimp, because this is almost ready. Shrimp are really fast to cook. Like, they take seconds. So let's add as much shrimp as we can, but we don't, again, this is a soup, not a stew, so I'm not gonna add so much shrimp that it's more shrimp than soup, right? Okay, there we go. So let's mix this up, and while I chop the herbs, this is gonna cook through. So I have basil, mint, and cilantro on the cutting board. I kind of leafed them all, so I'm just gonna kind of mix them all together, roll them up, and roughly, because I don't want this chopped too fine, roughly just chop them up. Turn it this way, chop it one more time. That's it. That's how the soup is gonna finish. I have some steamed jasmine rice that I'll add to the soup. Now you can always add noodles, probably more traditional, but I love rice in my soup. I told you before you left about Nuc Cham or Nuc Nam. So again, fish sauce, sugar, and lime juice. This has a floating habanero in it for flavor, and this is what's gonna add that umami, that flavor that comes right here in your mouth, into the soup. So let's add a little bit in there, and you can always adjust it. Let's add our herbs to the soup, and then mix this up a little bit. Our shrimp is cooked, and let's ladle that into the bowl to see what it looks like. It's hearty, but it's not too heavy because it's really just coconut broth and a little chicken stock in here. But then you have all these other lovely binders. The rice is delicious. I just think this is perfect. Check this out. I don't know what to call it because I kind of created it myself, but I think it's rather delicious. So I'm gonna set this over here because we're gonna jump into our last soup. I'm making a green pozole. Pozole comes from Mexico. There's actually a few colors. There's white, there's green, there's red, but my favorite for some reason is the green, and it might be because you add pepitas. You know what pepitas are, right? The pumpkin seeds. These are toasted salted pumpkin seeds that we ran through a spice grinder, and you finish it with this to make it even more bright green. But let me show you what you do to get it started. So what you do is you take tomatillos, and these have been obviously peeled, rinsed, and cut in half. Throw that into a blender. I have sauteed poblanos, onions, and a little bit of garlic. That's just sauteed in a little bit of olive oil, not a lot of color, just softened. We're gonna throw that into the blender. We're gonna put a little bit of cilantro with a little bit of its stem. And have you ever heard of epazote? Epazote is a Mexican tea leaf, and it's used a lot in Mexican cooking, especially in stews. And we actually grow this in South Florida. It has a very, very distinct, really interesting smell to it. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of epazote. If you can't find epazote, it doesn't matter. You can even add oregano if you wanted to into this. All right, there's more cilantro. I'm gonna add a little bit of chicken broth or chicken stock, up to you. About a cup, really just to blend it up. We'll use a little more of this stock later. And go ahead and blend it up. And then go ahead and put this in a pot big enough to hold it all. Okay, so we're gonna turn that on. We're gonna get it nice and hot. Let me tell you about the rest of the ingredients. So earlier we poached the chicken, took all the bones and skin and pulled the meat. So that's the chicken. This is the hominy, which is the pozole, by the way. So it's rinsed, cooked hominy, and that'll go into the soup. And that's really what flavors the soup. The soup is truly the flavor of hominy or corn. It's a very hard corn that's been treated with lye and soaked and then cooked. And it has a wonderful, distinct smell and flavor to it that's just delicious. We're gonna finish it with the pepitas, and then we've got all kinds of toppings that we will talk about in a little bit. But before you go, I want to tell you a little bit about this cooktop. So this is an induction cooktop, and it came from the good people at General Hotel and Restaurant Supply and the Bull Wrap Company. Visit General's Miami Lakes or online at generalhotel.com. Either way, visit them. They make things taste better. And I use this induction at home, and it is wonderful. So come right back, taste buds, for more SoFlo Taste. Stay tuned to SoFlo Taste. We'll be right back. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste and our show all about soups. Okay, so I've been cooking pozole. We're adding our hominy, as much as I can get in the pot. All right, and now that's gonna give it the corn flavor that we're looking for. I have the pulled chicken of the chicken that we poached in the chicken broth. So we're gonna add our chicken to it now, allow it to warm up. And finally, we took toasted and salted pepitas and we ground them in a spice grinder. And that is gonna add the most delicious roasty flavor and add a little bit of sodium to this soup that needs it a little bit. I did add a couple pinches of salt while you were away. So this is how you serve pozole. I've got very fine julienne of tortillas that we fried. I've got some avocado. I've got radishes, limes, really important, and finally some shredded cabbage. This is how you would get a pozole in Mexico. You might get even more stuff added to it, but it's a huge platter that you could even make a whole big lunch out of. Pozole takes its time to eat because you just keep adding stuff to it. You eat all that yummy, crunchy stuff, you drink some of the soup, and then you add more things to it. So it's great to have this in the middle of your table, have the pozole there, but it is truly a delicious meal. So let's serve ourselves some of this beautiful green pozole. It is a little bit spicy because it does have jalapenos and poblanos in it. Squeeze a little bit of lime on there. I'm going to add some big salt to chef it up a little bit. And then sometimes you get queso fresco, which I probably should have added because that's like one of my favorite things. But I've got radishes, I've got some cabbage, I've got some tortilla right there in the center, whoopsie daisy. And then I've got the avocado pieces that are deliciously creamy and that will definitely soothe a little bit of that chili flavor in your mouth. And look how beautiful my pozole is. Well, there you go. All we need now is a good cold snap so these soup recipes can warm you up. But even if it's 80 degrees here in SoFlo, these soups are great. Give them a try. Next week, I'll be cooking with that versatile and delicious member of the grass family, corn. It's SoFlo corn season, and I'm gonna make some great recipes with it. So join me on the next SoFlo Taste. Now I'm so happy to welcome back to Saturday mornings, Elena Capra in SoFlo Home Project. Good morning, my dear. Welcome home, and what have you got for us next?
Hi, Michelle. Good morning. It's so great to be back with you on Saturday mornings. So coming up on SoFlo Home Project, we show you easy ways to refresh your home decor and define your personal home style.
So Taste Buds, I love our time together, and I'll see you here next week for an amazing show. Goodbye, good taste in 2025. Mwah. That's out of stock.